I'm going to say something here. Kind of a bit of a hot take. I don't care. I don't give a damn. And it involves LeBron. And this is something I've held on to for a couple of years. Never said it on the show necessarily, because I want to see that time pass and see if the story played out to be such. But by the point now where I feel like I can say this, and there's no question LeBron James is one of the greatest players of all time. I have number 2 on my list all time, and he's closer to Jordan than people give him credit for. You already know how I feel about that argument. And LeBron has done things his own way. Started in Cleveland 7 years, came here, Miami for 4 years, back to Cleveland for 4 years, and now he's been in LA for the last 5. And that's his doing, and he has the right to do what he wants to do. I do feel like LeBron James, though, cheated himself of some stability, mainly leaving Erik Spoelstra. There is no question that of all the coaches that LeBron James played with throughout his career, Paul Silas, Mike Brown, David Blatt, Ty Lue, Frank Vogel, who else? Now Darvin Ham. Erik Spoelstra is the best coach he has ever played for. I don't know if he'll ever admit that, and that's fine. But as a basketball fan who knows the game of basketball, and many people say this too also, there was no coach that got more out of LeBron James as a player than Erik Spoelstra. And people forget that LeBron did things in Miami that he was not comfortable with. But Erik Spoelstra kind of forced it, kind of encouraged it, and LeBron acquiesced eventually. Like the whole small ball thing. You forget LeBron played the 4 here in Miami. The whole small ball thing that the Warriors have now made famous in the last decade with Draymond at center, Spoelstra started that up in 2011 with Bosh at center, LeBron playing the 4. That was Erik Spoelstra. And LeBron was reportedly not for it at first, but he bought in because he's a team guy, and he trusted it, and he got, to me, he had, his most efficient years in those 4 years of Miami Heat. I know people say, well, Cleveland years are pretty good too. Also, they were incredible. But to me, he was more efficient as a player in Miami, and I think because Erik Spoelstra got the most out of him. In fact, say what you want about that, whether you disagree with what I'm saying here, but LeBron literally tried to mimic the same model in Cleveland when he left Miami, the same Miami Heat model. And what he learned, I guess, obviously, is that while you may be able to do it in the short term, if you don't have stability from the top down, and then Dan Gilbert, let's be real, Dan Gilbert hasn't been proven to be a great owner, and the front office has been average at best, although they're not too terrible anymore now, but during his tenure, Dave Griffin's pretty good. But they're not Miami. They're not what Pat Riley and Spoelstra has accomplished for 30-something years, or close to 30 years, should I say. All this stuff about Heat culture, this is not a new thing. This has been something, it's been branded as such for the last 10 years, but this is something that's been in place for nearly 30. So, again, I think LeBron, you look at elite players all the time. You think of Pat Riley and Magic Johnson. You think of, player-coach combinations. You think of Kobe and Phil Jackson. You think of Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson. You think of Greg Popovich and Tim Duncan. You think of Steve Kerr and Steph Curry. You think of all those combinations through the years. Stability, winning multiple titles, and doing it and trusting the culture. Now, obviously, it takes a lot of trust, and not just the coaching, but also the front office to get to make things work. Obviously, Golden State's proved that in the last 10 years. The Lakers proved that. In the 80s with Magic and Riley, they proved that. Jordan and Phil with Jerry Krause, especially one with Jerry Krause and how he handled things in the end, but he was still a great GM. Same with Kobe and Shaq in that front office in L.A. Kobe Shaq with Phil Jackson, of course, in L.A. I think LeBron James, look, he won 4 titles, and no one's going to take that away from him. Winning in L.A., winning in Cleveland. Of course, that Cleveland title was probably worth 2 titles, honestly. But I feel like if LeBron had stayed in Miami for long term and trusted Riley and the front office to build around him for 5-6 years going forward, I think he could have gotten more than 4 titles total out of that. Because, number one, it's been more proven that Pat Riley and company do have a knack to find players to work around what they have, the system they have. And for all the stuff he's done since the Miami 2014, LeBron, winning 2 titles, one in LA, one in Cleveland, there's been some wasted years. The first year in LA was a wasted year because he had the young players. The last 2 years prior to this trade this past season, was wasted years. They won the finals in 2020, but then those 2 years after that with AD's injuries and all that stuff were wasted years as well too. And I feel like Miami would have maximized those years better than any other franchise because they have proven to do so. They've created a culture again to bring players down here to play within the system and to also believe in what this thing is. So I feel like LeBron James in some ways cheated himself of a stable situation by not trusting in a front office. Again, he's a grown-ass man. He can do the hell he wants, and I respect him for it. But at the same time, I'm convinced that had he stayed in Miami, regardless of the Dwayne Wade situation, Chris Bosh's health issues, Miami always found a way to make it work. And the proof is in the results, obviously. This team's going to the second finals in 4 years in a parity league. They were an 8 seed this year. They played in the third conference finals in 4 years. They're a playoff regular every season. They've proven that. They've been the epitome of stability in this league for a long time. Since LeBron left the Heat missed the playoffs only twice since then. It means something.